Hi guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the Chronicles of Faerie series by O.R. Mellon. Now I'm going to start off by saying these four books are categorized as YA fantasy romance. Before that turns you off, when you're like me and most of the YA novels from your day were really obnoxious, looking at you Twilight, Saga. These books, while they do have a romance element to them, they're not as obnoxious as Twilight. Just be frank. They're not like that. It's more toned down while it's still there. And they still are worth the read. It's a 4-part series. The Hunter's Moon, the Summer King, the Lightbearer's Daughter, and the Book of Dreams. Now, the first two you could pretty much read in any order and they would still basically make sense. And the third book, The Lightbearer's Daughter, you could read without having first read The Summer King, but elements of it might not make a whole lot of sense. And you cannot read the Book of Dreams without having read the first three. I say that because the Book of Dreams ties the entire series together, and it basically means a conclusion to the entire series' plot. Now, I first read the first two about 10 years ago in high school, and I decided to reread them since it's been about 10 years, and I was like, my mind could probably use a refresher before I read the last two, which I had never read. So we're going to start with my review of The Hunter's Moon itself, the first book of the series. The Hunter's Moon is based through the perspective of a girl named Gwen, who goes to visit her cousin in Ireland, and while they're there, they plan on going on this adventure in Ireland to see a whole bunch of these sites and do all of this. But instead of doing it through like a touring company, they decide to go off on their own. And at the beginning, they go to the Mounds of Tara, and they sleep overnight in one of the mounds, which is A, illegal, and B, it's disrespectful to the fairies. So they get asked to come to Faerie. Then Gwen's cousin says yes, and Gwen says no, so they get separated. So Gwen has to basically travel throughout Ireland by herself. And while traveling, she meets the companions who later become known as the Company of Seven. She runs into Mattie O'Shea first, and then Katie, and then Dara, and Granny. And while she's traveling, she also kind of halfway jumps between human and fairy a few times to meet the last member of the Company of Seven, Finnabar, the King of the Fairies. We'll call him that. We'll call him King of the Fairies because I can't pronounce his name to save my life. And they have to go on this quest to save Finn, her cousin, from getting sacrificed to these gray worm creature that is supposed to take a sacrifice every so many years to basically keep him from destroying Faerie and keep his appetite sated. And they have to find a way to defeat him, or else Finn is going to be sacrificed. And that's where the Company of Seven come in, and they kind of work out how that's going to work and how they're going to save her and save Faerie and save humanity, because the whole Faerie-humanity interlinking connection is very present in this series. Now, the second book, The Summer King, is based through the perspective of a girl named Laurel who returns to Ireland to find answers as to why her sister was on the cliff that she was on the day that she fell to her death. And whilst looking for answers, she gets brought into this plot to basically destroy Faerie, which will inadvertently destroy humanity. And she doesn't really understand why her sister's connected, and she has to figure out how her sister's connected to this, and what that means for her, and what that means for what happened to her sister. And eventually she confides in this guy named Ian, who lives in the same village that her grandparents live in, and Ian's kind of like this mysterious, like, bad boy who doesn't really want to be in the small town. He would rather be in a bigger city type deal. Eventually he gets kidnapped, so not only does she have to figure out what happened to honor her sister, she has to find Ian, and she's like, why me? I don't understand any of this, but I'll go along with it anyway. And it's this whole big plot, essentially, to basically, for the Summer King has, to where he doesn't have to light the fire, because he's like, if this doesn't exist, then I don't have to do anything. But it's a good book, and while it might sound confusing, it's not. And it's really good, and you should read it. Okay, now, The Lightbearer's Daughter, I would recommend reading after reading Summer King, because honor plays a huge role in Dana's quest. But before we get to Dana's quest, we'll start off with Dana is younger than the other two. She's about 13 years old, while the other two are about 17. And she has to go, she's trying to find a way to find her mother before her father moves her to Canada to live, because he got a job at the University of Toronto. And while she's looking to find out what happened to her mother, she gets pulled into this quest because she gets visited by Honor, who says that you have to help find the light to destroy the darkness, to destroy the destroyer, and to reignite the light within Faerie, or else all of humanity will perish. And she's all for it, because she's all for, like, yeah, let's do it. Let's save some fairies. I'm all about that. She's like the opposite of Laurel. She's like all about the nature and all about the fairies, because her dad and her at one point grew up at like this like commune in like the forests with all these nature activists. Not only does she have to destroy the darkness and reignite Faerie, but she also has to stop corrupt humans from destroying the forest. That's always fun. I mean, why not just throw some of that in there, along with, saving the universe and everything. But it's a good book. I would recommend reading it. It's got some interesting parts in it. At one point I was like, is that a thing? That's going to happen, isn't it? And then it did, and I'm like, no! You'll know. Spoiler alert, the dog dies. Okay. Book of Dreams, the last book. Book 4. You have to read last. You cannot get around reading this first. This book combines all the other books in the series in the plot. Like, it's through Dana's perspective. Dana is one of the main characters. The other main character is this guy Jean she meets later on in the series. However, I will mention, before she meets Jean, she's kind of a whiny teenager, and it's really annoying. And at some points I was like, Dana, stop. Dana, stop. Don't. No, don't. But she's 14, so I'll give it to her. I'll give her her whiny teenager self if she's 14 years old. And once she meets Jean and they kind of halfway get their little romancy thing going, she gets better. It's kind of sad, but she gets better. And she has to basically go on this mission to reopen the portals between human and fairy. Because if she doesn't, the world will cease to exist. And whilst on her journey, she gets attacked by this shadow creature who possesses one of her teachers. And eventually that teacher is institutionalized, and he is replaced by Gwen, which brings in Gwen and Laurel, because Gwen and Laurel are friends, and they got introduced because they got told that this might happen. Something like this might occur, and you might have to help Dana solve what she needs to solve. But essentially, Dana has to fix it. No one else can fix it but Dana. And she's freaking out because she's 14. She was like, how can I do it? I don't understand how I can do it. I'm only 14 years old. What the heck am I supposed to do? And she has to go on a mission to find the Book of Dreams, which will essentially save the world. It has the answer inside of it. And eventually she finds the Book of Dreams, and she finds the answer, and then she's left with a choice. At the end of the book, she has a choice. And I can tell you what that choice is, because that choice is the entirety of the ending. And I can't with the end of the series. I can't with the end of this book. Like, I read it a few months ago, and I'm still like, I can't deal with the ending. But she makes her choice, And I applaud her for being able to make that choice at 14 years old, because I don't think I could have. I applaud. Okay, that was my review of the Chronicles of Faerie series by O.R. Melling. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and of course there will be an accompanying blog post in the description, linked in the description bar below, and as well as all my social media, including my Twitter, my Instagram, and my likable Facebook page. And don't forget to share this video with your friends if they too are interested in YA fantasy romance or fairies, or you just think they might like my videos. That's cool too. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. It would be greatly appreciated. And I will talk to you guys later.